the assassination attempt or whatever it was at that rally, I think that really shook him. And I also think that he's in cognitive decline. I think that that's pretty clear that, he does not seem as sharp as, well, he's never seemed sharp, but he seems even less sharp than he has seemed in the past.
So, Ryan, what's the current state of Trump HQ? We've seen a record 17% of Republicans swap over to the Harris camp. Do you think that's a blow to the campaign?
I think that the campaign has their base, and their base isn't really going anywhere. So, what all of these endorsements that you've seen coming from the Republicans, the sane Republicans is what I'd like to call them, that is really to move the election's going to be won in some really small numbers, and those numbers are what we like to call squishy Republicans. Those are people who, typically vote Republican, but they're not really identifying with the MAGA movement. And so what these Republicans who have gone out and endorsed Kamala Harris have done is made it easier for those Republicans to do so. But as far as the base, Trump's base goes, it's not going anywhere. I mean, it's a cult, and just like any other cult, it has a following that's very loyal to their leader, and the spell has not been broken. The fever has not been broken. But you ask about their headquarters. I think it's probably pretty chaotic right now. It is, we are less than a month out, and it is blow after blow after blow for that campaign.
We've seen Harris out and about everywhere. She's been on the media round. She's been doing some of the hurricane relief efforts sort of in between campaigning. But we've not seen a lot of Trump himself. We've seen a bit more of Vance on the campaign trail. Axios says that Trump is doing far fewer rallies this time around. But why do you think that we're seeing less of him?
I think there are a couple of reasons. I said, first of all, I think that he's terrified. I think that the assassination attempt or whatever it was at that rally, I think that really shook him. And I also think that he's in cognitive decline. I think that that's pretty clear that, he does not seem as sharp as, well, he's never seemed sharp, but he seems even less sharp than he has seemed in the past. I think that Vance is who MAGA really wants. I mean, that's a young face. He is trying to make Project 2025 more palatable for Republicans. He's trying to make the weirdness of the Republican Party seem a lot less so. I think that they're putting JD Vance out there because JD Vance is an easier pill for Republicans to swallow than Donald Trump, and is better on his feet. I mean, he's a weird dude. He keeps making campaign gaffes too. But not anything like Donald Trump is. J.D. Vance is incredibly dangerous because he carries the MAGA flag, but does it with a silver tongue.
And it seems like Trump really doesn't want to leave Mar-a-Lago. That's kind of where he's spending the majority of his time. But it seems like it would be quite difficult to win an election if you're not kind of campaigning on the road, especially in this kind of crunch time this month.
I don't think that Trump is counting on winning the election. I think Trump is counting on stealing the election on the other side, just like what he tried to do in 2020. I think he knows that he does not have the support that Kamala Harris has. I mean, hell, everyone in the world knows he doesn't have that support. We're looking at her rallies. We're seeing the enthusiasm behind her. So, I mean, I think that, he is counting on Republican legislators in existential states willing to say, no, we're not going to certify the election this year. I think he's counting on shenanigans on the other side. I think he's counting on voter intimidation tactics. I mean, I am telling everyone in America, vote early, vote in person. This is a year where the militias are going to come out and they're going to be trying to intimidate voters, especially in the states that are most important this year. So, I mean, I think his big plan is to try to win it on the other side. I don't think he plans on winning it fairly. He's a sociopath. I mean, he's a narcissist. This man does not care about the rules, never has. So, I mean, I think that that's part of the reason he's doing what he's doing is I don't think that he has any intention to win this fairly.
And the New York Times, they report that his speeches are becoming angrier. He's rambling a lot more. He's kind of becoming a bit incoherent. Do you think maybe it's a case that actually it's not that he doesn't want to go on the campaign trail, but his team are kind of like, we saw what happened after the debate and he just said this kind of nonsense about cats and dogs. Maybe it's just safer if we attach his face to stuff, but we just don't let him speak.
I think that's absolutely right. I mean, that's what I was saying about J.D. Vance. I mean, they have J.D. Vance out there because J.D. Vance is not Donald Trump, but is carrying the same message, carrying the same water. So I think that is true. I think that Trump is very, I've said this, I think I've said this on your show before. I think that America is fighting for our freedom and we are fighting for our way of life. Trump is fighting for his freedom and his way of life. And so are his sycophants. I mean, they are all going to go to jail on the other side of this election if Trump doesn't win. And so, I mean, I think that's absolutely what's happening right now. I think that the stress is getting to him. I think the pressure of these court cases. I mean, what just dropped from Jack Smith is crazy. And what happened with Woodward's book that's just come out. And they're talking about how he's met with Putin 7 times since he's been president of the United States. That is not legal in this country. So, I mean, I think that he is under a tremendous amount of pressure. I don't think that his brain could handle just daily pressure. And I think he's in real trouble. And I think his campaign sees it. And I think that they are putting in all kinds of surrogates to try to make MAGA more palatable to the American public.
He was at a rally earlier this week. He was kind of bragging to his fans about the size of his crowds, and then the wrong photograph was displayed, and Trump got very angry with his own campaign staff, and he called them stupid on stage. I mean, we've heard kind of rumors and stuff around fistfights in Trump HQ, and the staff being quite upset about things that he said, but it's just a further sign of discontent and kind of chaos, I guess, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's like watching the Republican Party do this right now is like watching a star die, right? So when a star dies, it starts consuming its energy faster and faster and faster, and it gets brighter and brighter and brighter until it just explodes. And I think that that's where we are with the Republican Party right now. I think that we are in the stages of its death. I think it's consuming more and more energy. I think it's consuming its own. I mean, the Democrats have this huge umbrella party right now. I mean, if you look at it, I don't think that anyone in the world, especially, and definitely not this former Republican, could ever imagine seeing Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney and Bernie Sanders endorsing the exact same candidate. And then, so you have this huge umbrella where it's like all are going to be welcome over here. We're trying to move together. And you see Trump trying to tear everybody apart. And I think that that's kind of a good analogy of what will happen to this country on the other side of this election. I mean, if you pick Kamala Harris, we can move together. And if you pick Donald Trump, we are going to implode. And so, I mean, it's America or it's Trump this year. It's our values or it's his. So it's going to be a kind of interesting year to watch. I mean, I'm sure internationally it's entertaining. From here, it's pretty terrifying.
I mean, you said that there might be a death of the Republican Party. What do you think that kind of looks like? Do you think that plays out in the next, in 4 years after this election? Or, what does that kind of mean for that party itself? Could it open up a kind of 3-party state or something?
I don't see a 3-party state surviving in America. I think that, back once upon a time, there was the Whig Party here, and it went away, and the Republican Party was formed, and the Democratic Party was formed, and we continued on. I think that what you're seeing here with the Republican Party is they're going the way of the Whigs. I mean, something will come out of it. I think that you have conservatives like Liz Cheney and like Adam Kinzinger in that party who are willing to see a better day for Republicans, but the party as it currently stands has terminal cancer. It has eaten away at every single part of that party. It does not look like the party of Reagan. It does not act like the party of Reagan. There's very little conservatism left in that party. So I think that what you'll see come out of this, I mean, how long does it take this to die? I don't know. I mean, there's the case to be made that if Trump doesn't win this year, who's going to stop him from running again in 4 more years when he's even older? So, I mean, I think you have to rid the party of the MAGA movement, and I don't think you can do that without killing the party. So what comes out of this is hopefully people like Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger and that ilk will come and form a new conservative party that is more, I think, fiscally conservative and socially moderate. I mean, I think that's where the country's going right now. But I do believe that America is always best served with 2 healthy political parties. And right now we only have one.
I wanted to ask about, it was revealed this week that Trump sent Putin COVID tests, and Trump's team categorically denied those reports, but the Kremlin has confirmed them. And then also they had 7 phone calls together after Trump had left office. This plus the reports that we saw from Jack Smith. I mean, how much of a electoral impact do you think that all of that is going to have?
Well, I think it all depends on who's paying attention. I mean, Trump's voters are typically low information voters. This information isn't penetrating to them. They don't know about the 7 meetings with Putin. They don't know about any of this stuff. And so, I mean, those voters are not going to change. I mean, like I said earlier, it's a cult. A cult, there is no changing the mindset of a cult. They are steadfast that they are right and everyone else is wrong. It is the small numbers that get moved. And that is, but even those, I mean, the ones who are still, undecided at this point are low information. I mean, you cannot be someone who consumes this stuff every day and go, well, which is better, Trump or Kamala Harris? I mean, so it's hard to tell how this will impact. I mean, hopefully what this will do, I mean, Lincoln Project is studying 2 different groups this year, and we are targeting 2 different groups. And one of those groups is what we're calling the Dobbs dads. Those are the ones who are really upset that Roe got overturned here. Those are the people who, want more rights for their daughters than their grandmothers had. And then the other group, and this is the group that is most likely to be moved by the new information that came out, we're calling Red Dawns. And these are the people who were alive, back when the Cold War was really going on. And they remember how dangerous the Kremlin really can be. And they're sympathizers with Ukraine. And so those are the people, they are not as low information. They typically do consume a lot of international news. They consume a lot of geopolitics. And so it's those people that are most likely going to be moved by what's coming out with Jack Smith and Bob Woodward.
I also wanted to ask, kind of going back to the point of Trump becoming a little bit more incoherent and stuff. I think he was at a rally and he said that the crowds at his debate with Kamala Harris were going wild for him. But there was no crowd.
There is
It
no
was just
crowd.
an empty, yeah, it was just an empty hall. And we actually kind of are seeing people leaving early from his rallies. I mean, why are people leaving early? And also, is this a sign of kind of his cognitive decline?
I do think it's a sign of his cognitive decline. I do believe that some of that cognitive decline has to do with the stress that he's been under. I mean, as we spoke about earlier, people are leaving his rallies early. I mean, that doesn't mean they're not going to vote for him. I mean, the thing about a lot of his followers is it's not what he says, it's not what he believes. It's the fact that he tells them that it's okay to be racist. It's okay to hate other Americans. It's okay to hate people of color. It's okay to hate immigrants. It's okay to dehumanize them. And that is what these people really want. A lot of Trump supporters, they fall into 2 camps. They're either incredibly wealthy and they're trying to protect their assets, or they are incredibly poor and they see Donald Trump and that's a hero to them. And what they're seeing right now is this hero of theirs is rambling and is incoherent and is saying the same things over and over again. And I mean, they're going to be entertained. And now it's not entertainment as much as it is just sadness. And going back to your previous point, I think this is why you're seeing more JD Vance on the campaign trail than Donald Trump.